can we see if a person is born gay or straight by their astrology? And as the documentary Lovers of Men comes out with documentation that former President Abraham Lincoln did indeed have male lovers, can we see that in his astrology? And that's what we're going to look at today, along with the fascinating astrology in general for Abraham Lincoln. So welcome, my name is Lydia, and this is the Feng Shui and Bazi Chinese Astrology channel. On this channel, I often like to read the charts of famous people because I feel it helps us to better understand our own charts and our own lives. So if this sparks interest for you, friend, please subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a single video, and appreciate your liking it too. So here we go. Abraham Lincoln, we all know his birthday because it's a national holiday, February 12th, 1809 at 6:54 in the morning. Let me hold this up for you to see. So Abraham Lincoln, wow, what an interesting guy. And yes, I did look at Mary Todd Lincoln, the First Lady, just to kind of get a feel of her astrology. Not getting too far into that though. This is not a couples reading. This is totally Abraham Lincoln, and wow, what a chart. So when we look at this, we see somebody born in a yin earth snake year, a yang fire tiger month, a yin earth sheep day, and a yin fire rabbit month. Now, right off the bat, what do we notice is that this is somebody that is more in their divine feminine than in their divine masculine. When we read history of Abraham Lincoln, we know that he was not a laborer. He was not interested in being a farmer. He was not interested in things beyond learning, reading, the intellectual aspects of life. I believe that that was a great frustration for his father, I would imagine so. Because during that time, that's really what was needed in a family. So when we look at, just jumping in, right, and saying, all right, let's look at his day master, because your day that you're born really says everything about who you are. The whole of your Bazi astrology radiates and is interpreted by that day master, the day that you are born. So we see that he's a yin earth person, and that yin earth sitting atop the sheep, which is also yin earth. And this is the thing that is a suggestion. I am on the fence as to whether astrology really shows this, but it is an inclination. Let's leave it at that. An inclination that because he's yin earth and what he's looking for in a romantic partner is the same element. This is where, if you do your own research on Bazi astrology and homosexuality, you're going to see this. So what is there is somebody that is the same as you. Okay, so not different, not of a different sex. Okay, so he's looking for a partner, someone that is the same. And there was an account, it was a fascinating article that I read, that, the article was in response to this documentary, Lovers of Men. And this falls near and dear to my heart. I'll get into maybe some of my personal story of this later, but suffice it to say that he had a lover that broke his heart in a million pieces when he left. And this man groomed him to to kind of clean up his appearance, make himself look more political, like a real politician, you know, make yourself look nice. And he introduced him to Mary Todd, knowing that this is what you had to do. And that's where I'm like, wow. Where my mind went was that TV show Mad Men, that was about, a big ad agency. And it was a great TV show, really documented well the 1960s. And there was a character in that movie, or in that TV show, that was homosexual, married, miserably married to the sweet woman, and dying inside because he's gay. And throughout different times of history, being homosexual or even bisexual was either allowed or not allowed. And what I have seen in my own family is what happens when somebody is homosexual or bisexual and doesn't have access to actualizing those feelings because of society, and that it's basically kind of forbidden and taboo. So you have all these men that were gay that wound up getting married, and you want to think that those marriages were all worked out well, that there weren't very frustrated women with these men who were very frustrated themselves and wound up having kids and the family and the whole thing that's expected of you. Meanwhile, you're denying yourself a core part of who you are. And what a travesty we have done to people because of that. You know, at no time in our lives should we exile a core part of what makes you you in order to fit in and feel like you belong. And I saw that with my own family. How my father was, how my father's brother was, how that translated into my family, and the toll that my father, having that repression, the damage it did in our family. And it was hidden, because I think, well, it doesn't always have to be hidden, but sometimes it's out in the open. But I think that it's an undercurrent, comes out in weird ways. Yeah, maybe it relates to you. I remember when my older brother came out in his mid-20s, and it was like, oh, yay. Like we were all waiting for that moment for him to claim, this is my identity, this is who I am, so that we could celebrate that with him and join him in that. But he had to go through his own journey to get there. All right, back to Abraham Lincoln. Sorry. When I do these readings, I feel like I'm sitting having tea with you. And so that's why these are not scripted. I do not edit these videos. This is me having a conversation with you about how I intuitively have divined this Bazi Astrology for whoever I'm reading. And that's how, if I sit down with you and read your Bazi Astrology, this is how it's going to go down. It's just very personal. That's just how I am. So as we look at this is such an interesting man. A snake and a sheep. The sheep really speaks of someone that is a peacemaker, someone who is possibly musically inclined or artistically inclined. It's very innovative kind of person, very kind of like an engineer, could be an artist. The snake is someone that is really good with discernment and intuiting things, sensing things, and very in the background. Both of these, it's really funny because this does not speak of a president. This doesn't speak of someone that is going to be really powerful in their presentation, but rather soft-spoken even. And the hour of the rabbit, this is a negotiator. And, it's, wow. Like there we see that rabbit is sitting there. That shows what a challenge his job, whatever work he was going to do was going to challenge him. Bring in critics, push him hard. The yin fire sitting on top of that rabbit is a really lovely combination of wood and fire. And the flow in his chart, there is a lovely flow in his chart, which you want to see. You want to see a certain amount of flow where all the components of your 4 pillars are working in some level of a cycle of the 5 elements, except, I don't know if you noticed, he doesn't have any water. No water. So the yin fire speaks of someone, yes, that could be working in government, but also could be a teacher or a preacher. A teacher or a preacher. And definitely brings his faith and his relationship with God into his role in his role of whatever job he's doing. Now, the interesting thing with this is his life pillar is a yang wood rat. And the rat and the rabbit, I just did a video about penalties in charts and how they can come out. Now, this life pillar of the rat, if you ask me, this is the hidden aspect of his chart that is showing unusual relationships, unconventional relationships, and relationships that can prove to be detrimental to your livelihood, detrimental to your welfare, can sabotage some aspect of your life. Fascinating, huh? So the other thing is that the rat brings in a tiny bit of water, just a little bit, just lingering out there. Can't really be considered part of his 5 element equation, but it is there. It is out there, kind of like a bucket of water sitting outside of the house. It's not part of the house, but you know it's there. And so at times, certain situations, it may be usable. Interesting. So continuing with his personality, this is somebody who, in addition to being so smart and innovative and an engineer and an artist, an impossible musician, this is also somebody who has the gift of communication, great orator. Really, again, this comes up again, somebody inclined to dedicate his life to helping others. And he will work until he has exhausted himself. He's someone who relished the arts, and even though he may not have dressed spiffy, he was someone who appreciated beauty and wanted to surround himself with beautiful things. And again, there is this somebody that simply loves life and lives it to the fullest, even if living life to the fullest is, again, in excess to where it is to your detriment. Just like working too hard can cause you health issues, in the same way, living the big life can harm you, whether you're taking drugs or alcohol or just excessive amounts of work without rest. So this is a wood pattern, and it is likely a fire dominant chart because there's no water to control the fire. And that is a requirement of a dominant chart, is that there is no enemy element, and that would be water. Water puts out fire. And the fire element is 43%. 43%. That is strong enough to claim that this is likely a Jalbird chart, one in which there is too much mother resource. Interesting, because his mother died at the age of 9. It shows the powerful influence his mother had on him in his life, present or not present. And he did have a stepmother that he called mom. So, a lot of mama influence here. Then you've got the earth element, which again is his element, at 28%, giving almost 3/4 of his chart is what nourishes him and supports him, inspires him, educates him, backs him, funds him, and his own self. What he produces, metal, hardly there, 2%. Water, non-existent. Wood, balanced, almost strong at 28%, because that is the pattern. He's born in the month of the tiger, February 12th. So, the other interesting piece is that he has a second penalty in his chart. This one is for real. Because why? He's born in the year of the snake, month of the tiger. It's a semi-penalty, showing a propensity towards illness, accidents, financial troubles. We know he was raised by, in very poor conditions in a little log cabin. I honestly don't know that many people lived much better than that during that time. How many people were living in a one-room log cabin back then, living off the land? Yeah, in the early 1800s, I would venture to guess a bunch of people. Most people, right? So that penalty is there, and it's a semi-penalty. But I want to tell you, it's interesting because as I get further into this reading, his assassination explains exactly why this penalty is so dangerous. All right, so we've got the 4 pillars, and we've talked about his personality. We've talked about his 5 elements. The interaction here of the rabbit and the sheep makes a semi-wood trio. And then the tiger and the rabbit make another seasonal semi-wood trio. So we've got a lot of wood supporting his pattern, which is great, right? We talk a lot on this channel about what sustains life. The pattern needs to be strong, and the day master element needs to be strong. Either one of those breaks, and the chances of death or severe illness, severe accidents becomes more likely. So The first luck cycle he moves into at the age of 2 until the age of 11 is the time in which his mother died. Now, the ox, we know this, is another penalty. This is an ox banging up against his sheep. So we've got, I'm sorry, not a penalty, but a conflict. This shows a lot of stress in the family. I know there was a lot of moving, there was a lot of sickness, a lot of death. And honestly, back in those times, there weren't all these, there wasn't an intervention for a lot of the illnesses like tuberculosis or bronchitis even. And, children living into adulthood was like a miracle just about. I mean, you had to survive winter on whatever you would put up from the summer, right? Very different way of living life. And so that conflict that hit right on him really challenged his very welfare. There was a lot of authority figures being very strict and judgmental and critical, asking a lot of him. He had to take care of family. He had to really show up. And this shows that at the age of 2, the little man had to really stand in his own agency. Here I am, little Abe. And independent, decisive, aware of his self. Right then, as a little person, tucked into the ox is his father. And a little boy that loved just being active and running around and having fun and doing things. So then we get to the next luck cycle. This is 1821. Isn't it fun to read something that's historical as opposed to all the stuff going down in our modern life? So this is a yang wood rat. What is a yang wood rat? That is his life pillar. So from the ages of 12 to 21, in 1821, he was living through what was going to show him his whole life. And this is all about his career. It's about family. It's about all of his responsibilities and duties. It shows someone that at a young age of 12 had to take on a lot, manage a lot, and his father playing a pivotal role. It shows the likelihood of health issues and that he was starting to make a little bit of money. And there's also mention of romance. And all of this to say, this was his life. So if that period of his life is showing him the whole reason he's here to be on this earth, it was to recognize the role as father and father figures played. It's to recognize the role that love plays. It's to recognize the role that his health played. And it's all about family, responsibility, and work. It's a very dutiful sort of life that he came to live. And this is where we see that the rat and his own sheep harm water. And that's where we find out, yep, that little bit of water coming in with the rat, it's not going to make it. So it's kind of like, here it is, psych. Not really. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been in a drought situation where you get a tiny bit of rain and within an hour it's all evaporated because it's so hot and dry. Kind of like that. Because his chart was too hot and too dry. And then we come against the penalty of unusual, strange relationships. And perhaps this is where some of his dalliances of being with men began to actualize themselves. And all of that, and what that might have looked like for him. I would imagine that inside there must be a level of confusion and fear, longing, aching for something that you know, perhaps you know, isn't available. You know, it's not on the menu. So why am I like this, you know? So much to say around that, you know, how we identify with ourselves and how identifying with yourself either supports or doesn't support you feeling like you belong. Belong in family, belong in society, belong in a workplace, belong in a friend circle, belong. And for whatever reason, human beings don't seem to just naturally accept everyone. There is this strange thing of, you're not like me, therefore I reject you, I criticize you, I condemn you, I make laws that make your kind of people not have an easy life, because I don't want you guys to have an easy life, because I don't believe in your kind of people. It's very interesting, and how that plays out in ways that laws are made and governments govern. So we come to his next luck cycle. So much to be said on these topics, honest to God. Like, I love the idea that Abraham Lincoln could have been a gay man. Man, just think, if we were an all-inclusive kind of living being, can you imagine if our president, Abraham Lincoln, had had a first man? Man, that would have been awesome. I'm just saying. Because why not? Why not? So here we come to 1831. He's now 22 until he's 31 years old. And this is a yin water pig. Wow. Now this is interesting. This is a missing element. And it comes in like a tsunami. And all of that water is fighting against his snake, conflicted with that snake, all that fire and steam, steamy situation. In that steamy situation, this is now with the pig, the rabbit, and the sheep making a full wood trio. So this is electrifying his career, because all that water is nourishing the wood that is his career. All that water is also bringing in a lot of romance. And ultimately, not exactly sure. I don't think I wrote down when they got married. But I want to say he was like in his 30s, wasn't he, when he got married to Mary Todd? Anyway, so this is all about romance, and it's all about money. This period of his life, he was prospering, and it mentions work and family and his responsibilities, and it mentions committed relationships, buying property, moving, being on the go. and it mentions his father. So all of this is going on. This is really highlighting how a luck cycle can come in with a missing element, interact in the chart, and create the situation for something to happen that would not have been possible without the infusion of these elements and this influence. We then get to 1841. There it is. He got married in 1842, the year after this luck cycle began. This is late in life. A lot of people in the 1800s were getting married at the age of 15, 16, 18. By the time you were 20, women were thinking they were old maids. Crazy. So now we have a yang water dog. And that yang water talks of marriage, settling down, buying a home, having property, making money. And it's interesting, the dog is yang earth. And it speaks of him now taking on a new persona and a new role. Politician, President of the United States, and a husband. It's a time that was rooted in faith and activity. And then we jump forward to 1851. 1851. Yeah, 1851. Yin metal rooster. Now, he wasn't president back in his 30s, just saying. But he was in politics, and he was doing his job, and he was making money, and he was doing great. And now we get to the ages of 42 to 51. It's 1851. This is a yin metal rooster. Whoa. Total shift. Total shift of energy now. Everything changed. And there are moments in our life that can be like that, where all of a sudden, what happened? Where did everything go? You ever have a time in your life where you're like, how did everything just suddenly go sideways? Everything suddenly seems different. I feel different. What's going on? So we move away, when you look at the ages of 12 all the way to 42, he had water in his luck cycles, playing various roles, but definitely an interesting alchemical situation. And then all of it's gone. The water is gone. And what is the water represents money and his wife, his marriage. So 1851, it is yin metal rooster, which is yin metal. The rooster's yin metal. And this speaks of a semi-metal trio with his snake. It speaks of the rooster conflicting with his rabbit. This is going after his children and his career. This shows a shakeup, something going on with his career. The whole focus of this 10 years was what he was doing and creating. It is all about action. Very Mars kind of energy of go, do, make it happen. Not about making money, not about even having a career, just getting into projects, collaborations, getting things done. Now we get to 1861. He's president of the United States. And this is where things get wonky. This is a yang metal monkey. The yang metal monkey. The monkey comes in and does what? Completes the semi-punishment with his snake and tiger. This brings in danger to his sovereignty, to his life, to his money, to his position. This penalty, when it shows up in a luck cycle like this, can guarantee 10 years of all kinds of stuff going wrong. But there's more. The yang metal is, again, all this metal in his chart. His chart is a wood pattern, and all that metal is starting to break the pattern. This is now, we're going into the second decade of metal challenging his pattern. And the metal is draining his earth. His own life force is being drained by all this metal, even though he's super, super strong. But the pattern is breaking, especially in the yang form. And the metal, that monkey, is battling his tiger. It is an all-out war, civil war going on, an all-out war within his own chart of wood and metal. And when we see the day that he died, the day of his assassination, was a yin wood ox year in a yang metal dragon month in a yang wood tiger day. That year, so you have that as the luck cycle, okay? And we always have to remember that charts are really all about the layers. It's layers and layers. The biggest piece is always your birth chart. After that, we look at your luck cycle. After that, we look at the year. After that, the month, the day, and then the hour. And what we're seeing is that that year, 1865, April 14th, that he died, was the ox battling up against his own sheep. So now you have the monkey fighting the day that he died, and then you've got the ox of the year fighting him directly. There's so much conflict in here. So much conflict. Amazing. Amazing. And you know, that's kind of the way it happens, that there is so much conflict. There is so much working, so many things dismantling a life that over the course of time, it just can't hold on anymore. Yeah. Mary Todd was born December 13th, 1818. And she had all kinds of issues. Poor little thing. She was yang metal dog for her day pillar. And the dog and the sheep, that's a combination that's very much about family stress. You know, they lost children and just heartache, not an easy time. And it's also kind of interesting that in the course of Abraham Lincoln's life, you don't see a lot of his own earth coming up. Like if he had survived that luck cycle, the next one would have been yin earth sheep. It would have been all about him. But that wasn't to be. And honestly, living super long life back then, I think was kind of a miracle. But I think it's interesting. There were so many different things going on. But as soon as I saw the monkey show up in 1861, I knew that was it. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, I welcome your thoughts, your comments. I'm curious to see this movie, Lovers of Men, to get a different side of this, national hero of sorts, Abraham Lincoln. Wow. What a fascinating person. Fascinating. So anyway, thank you again. And until next time, be well.